Hello everyone, and welcome to Progress Update 7. For once, I'm not horrifically behind schedule. Only about a week and a half-ish. Point is, you didn't have to wait months on end for this one. And I'm pretty happy that I actually got it out in a reasonable amount of time. Now, you're probably going to notice that I'm a little less organized in this one than I am in most. That's because I've been working on this progress update for like the past 4 hours because my computer apparently decided that tonight was the night it wanted to just have a stroke and just give up on doing anything efficiently. So I'm kinda platinum mad, platinum done with this progress update right now. So I just want to get it over with, which means we're doing it live. Well, live-ish. I'm not actually playing as I speak, because then I can't even come up with words. I did the recording, and now I'm talking over the recording. So, anyways, cue the recording. As you can see here, I have finally created the combat tutorial area, and it is quite the busy place. You can see all those shamrock dummies around the area, and all the Sphere Friend generals with their cool little top hats and battle axes. I'm really happy with how their design turned out, and I was sort of going for a like carnival ringleader feel with them, and I think it really works for the Sphere Friends in general. So you can see there that the Sphere Friend like watches me as I get close. It's a little creepy, sure, but it helps make them feel more alive as opposed to just standing there. And then, of course, you can see here the classic Sphere Speak. Not really classic since they have punctuation and exclamation points. Excuse me now. But still, it's got the good old grammar and vocabulary that's terrible, that we all know and love. Now, you guys can read what he's explaining. This is just the lock-on mechanics. The only real difference since the last progress update is you can now, well, there's two. Number one, there's a little icon, and number two, you can change it back and forth really easily. Now, here's the problem with Sphere Friends giving a tutorial. They're not good at English. So, like you can see here, I actually have Catboy, if you ever go back and re-talk to one of the tutorial Sphere Friends, Catboy re-clarifies what they just said in English. And I think that's a good compromise between, like, having the Sphere Friends be true to themselves and also, like, actually letting people learn how to play the game. So, yeah. This guy over here he teaches you how to change the camera. I accidentally already changed the zoomed out mode beforehand, but then here is the first person mode. Now, speaking of the first person mode, I did a major overhaul of it, and that's actually what caused the sort of weak delay. I didn't realize how, like, shitty the first person mode was, pardon my language. But it really just, it was not in good shape. Now here, I'm pausing because issues, but also to show off the new controls menu. I figure that this is a good thing to get out of the way since T is a weird button and V is a weird button. So because there's so many people who have problems with like PC controls for third-person games, I figured I may as well let the player choose whatever controls they want. The only thing you can't rebind is changing target because it's technically an axis. For the same reason, you can't rebind any of the gamepad controls. This could change in the future, but I wouldn't hold my breath. So anyways, as I was saying before that though, first-person mode is now in really good shape. It's still certainly glitchy and janky, and there's problems with it, but it works a lot better. The thing that's going to be really interesting is trying to make the combat mechanics play well with the first-person controls, because it can get a little disorienting when you're like up in a shamrock's face and they're swinging and like you have to be pretty close to them, so it'll be an interesting challenge, either for the players or for me. So then over here, this guy's going to teach Catboy about just like the basic combat mechanics. Now, again, going back to Progress Update 5.2, because this is basically a sequel to it, you have the light attack, and those are entirely unchanged from how they used to be. You can see it right here. You can also see me miss because I'm too far away. Point is though, light attacks, they're light attacks. I'm really happy with how I made these guys like bob around too. That was a fun thing to design. Now here is the new thing, heavy attacks. Catboy does a headbutt, and that's the other thing with these dummies, they knock you back. So anyways, he does a headbutt, and it's a heavy attack. You know, what do you expect? It's slightly like lower range, slightly slower, but a lot more damage to compensate. Now here's where we get into the real new stuff. Catboy can hold down left click, or well, you can hold down left click unless you are Catboy, in which case the first thing I said is true. Point is, you can hold down left click, and that charges up a punch, like you can see Catboy do here. Very strong. It's basically just like a heavy, heavy attack. On top of that, you can hold down the heavy attack button to do a massive shockwave like that. That deals a ton of stagger damage and also probably a lot of normal damage too. Now, of course, it's kind of hard to get those off because Catboy early on in the game doesn't have very much fortitude. In fact, he doesn't have any at all, so any attack knocks him back. I already went over fortitude, like, in general last time. There's not really all that much new to say about it. But this is the guy who teaches it to you. Unlike some games, that will not be named, the sort of like fortitude and stagger mechanics are never properly explained, and I wanted to be sure not to go down that path here. So this Sphere Friend right here just straight up tells you how fortitude works. And of course, on top of that, you can talk to him again and have Catboy re-explain it in English. So moving on to the ranged. The ranged is going to be like pretty much mostly the same as it was last time, with one major key difference. When Catboy charges up his shots now, he slows down until he doesn't move anymore. Now, I know this sounds like really, not unfun, but kind of clunky, I suppose would be the word I'd use. But the kind of sad fact of the matter is that it needs to be clunky, otherwise it's going to be brokenly overpowered and just trivialize the game. Now, for the people who are like really upset about this change and were really excited to play the entire game through ranged, don't worry. Just hang on for like 5 more minutes, don't unsubscribe and dislike down thumber yet, because some stuff in the skill tree is actually going to help out a lot with making ranged less clunky, if you consider it to be in its current form. And of course, you don't have to charge up your shots all the way. Yeah, I think that's just about it for the range stuff. You can see me just totally whiff that shot there. Going on to the ammo balls, they're pretty much the same as they were last time too. You can see, though, that I changed the graphics on them. It's more of like a bubble effect as opposed to the smoke. And they have like a nice little bobbing up and down animation. Just makes them look better. Since they definitely weren't the best looking things before. They're still going to be improved visually, but yeah, no, that's pretty much the deal with them. And here, you know, you can still use your ranged weapons in close range. You don't need to do them from a distance. Excuse me. So then this guy just explains the dodging mechanic, and of course, also you can see the Sphere Friend back there named Squonky. That is his name, and I'm thinking I'm going to make him a recurring character and give him a nice little hat so that you know who he is. But his main purpose is just to be, you know, he teaches you how to dodge. And you can see me. I deliberately messed that one up. I swear. I promise. I'm not that bad at my game. And then this Sphere Friend here teaches you about slip stancing. And similar to dodging, slip stancing hasn't really changed all that much. Actually, the one thing with dodging is that when you dodge, you go slightly less far. I think it's like 70% of the distance you used to. That sounds like a really hardcore nerf, but in reality, it's closer to a buff because it was kind of unwieldy when you would try to dodge before. So now it's easier to like go where you want. Now that first slip stance I messed up, that was me. I just suck. But I nailed these next 3 in a row, so or next 4 actually. Yeah. So yeah, that's actually about it for the combat tutorial. Aside from, you know, all the secondary dialogue whenever Catboy explains the tutorial mechanics. You can come over to this guy and talk about Squonky with him. But as a whole, I think that's a nice summary of the tutorial. Now, like the next Sphere Friend's going to say, there's only so much you can learn from hitting dummies. The stealth is going to be something after we talk about the skill tree, I'm going to talk about that separately against some actual live targets. I know I touched on their AI patterns and like the whole strong alert, weak alert stuff before, but I don't think I actually had the stealth mechanics implemented at that point. So yeah, we're going to be talking about those in just a little bit. And then you guys probably noticed that that big old statue over there on the left. That's called the Effigy. Now, it's a weird name, but essentially what it is if you've ever played Dark Souls, it's the bonfire. So you can come here to heal up and level up. Now, the key difference, however, is when you level up, you actually walk inside of the skill tree. This skill tree is what took up a vast majority of that sort of dead zone of time I had in like October, November-ish. This was quite the effort to make, since I had to come up with all the ideas for the new skills, I had to actually implement the new skills, I had to figure out the best ways to make all these little mechanics work properly, I had to build the tree itself, make some textures, a lot of stuff, a lot of work. But I think it paid off, because the aesthetic of the skill tree is quite cool if you ask me, and a lot of the skills are actually pretty creative and unique. So like I talked about in the last video, whenever you gather sausages or blood sausages, you get sausage points. Now, I gave myself 500 here. That's more than Actually, no, I think 500 is just about the maximum you can get in the game as a whole. So you cannot get every skill, you have to pick and choose. I'm planning on putting in a respec mechanic of some sort, but I'm not entirely sure what. If you want to plan ahead, like I was just showing off there, if you stand on top of a node that you haven't quite unlocked yet, you get to see what it is. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it mechanically for the skill tree. However, there was a lot of like really cool visual stuff that took up a lot of the time. You'll notice it after I get all of these nodes. And also, I forgot to mention, the current like node getting mechanic is in progress. It's not going to just like pop up like text in the final version. But anyways, like you can see here, you'll notice that what was once pitch black is now starting to get like this red tint. That's because the skill tree slowly, as you get more and more experience, or as you get more and more skills rather, lights up in the colors of the skills you've gotten. So say that you focus entirely on the melee tree and you get every melee skill. Once you finish the tree, like the entire area is going to have like a very distinct blue glow. Same for if you focus entirely on your health, you're going to get that like red tint. Now, it doesn't really start being like actually bright until you're almost done with the like... Well, until you've almost used every single possible skill you can get. But yeah, you can notice here, just going down the Fortitude tree has already added a bunch of brightness, and we're not even halfway done. One thing that's worth noting is that every single skill tree has like major like mechanical boosts at the end. You might have noticed it with Fortitude that it increases your Fortitude's regeneration rate. Speaking of which, that yellow bar that appeared, you can probably guess, is Fortitude. Also, ammo, like you probably saw there, it makes it so that your ammo regenerates over time. It's once every 10 seconds. Now, that almost seems a little bit too strong to me, so I might be toning that down to like once every 20 or something, but we'll see. Now, the trees that are available are Stealth, Melee, Ranged, and then this. I don't really know what to call it, but it's like a weird general stat. Not general stat, it's like a miscellaneous tree. You notice that there were Bestiary learn rate things. Those we'll get to in a little bit. There's also this Insight stuff. Now, Insight lets you see enemy stamina and health bars. I'm also going to show that off in a little bit, but the point is, once you get those skills, whenever you're locked onto an enemy, you can then see their health, their stamina, and their fortitude, depending on which level of the skill you have. So I didn't get to finish what I was saying before because I interrupted myself. Thanks, past me, for playing this so fast. What I was going to say is, on top of those four main trees, you also have a stamina tree, an ammo tree, a fortitude tree, and a health tree, which are smaller. Whereas those other four main trees are like, they're meaty. There's a lot of stuff and branching paths and stuff to them. So that just about sums it up for like this main combat tutorial part and also the skill tree. I know it wasn't exactly a whole like long amount of information, but then again, this is already going to be my second longest video. If not my longest, we'll see what happens. But I was talking fast. This was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of meat to this. Now, what we're going to get into next is this little battle arena I made, since it doesn't really fit to put in the shamrocks here in the combat tutorial. So, right here, you can see me walking up behind the shamrock, and he notices me. He hears my footsteps and has that little exclamation mark thing. I don't know if that was in PU 5.2. I don't think it was. But he notices me, starts fighting me. I kill him, of course, because the Shamrock Swordsmen are not especially tough enemies. But the interesting thing is that stealth mechanics are now in. You can see here that if I approach him more slowly using the control key on the keyboard, he actually doesn't hear me, and I'm able to hit him with a fully charged attack. By default, stealth attacks just are guaranteed to deplete an enemy's fortitude, and I think they deal like 20% extra damage. But if you like spec into the stealth tree and the skill tree, you can like increase that to like a 200% damage boost and get a smoke screen when you do it, and like an AoE stun and a bunch of cool stuff. So stealth is going to be a very like viable option, but of course you have to play it right, because once they see you, you can't really stealth anymore, even if you like get away. Now, the last mechanic I want to talk about for this progress update is the Bestiary. The Bestiary is actually sort of unique in this game. It's got the normal Bestiary stuff, like you can see pictures of the enemies, a description of them, and some of their stats. But the cool thing is that, well, there's two cool things. Number one, like you saw in the skill tree earlier, you can get, like, Bestiary learning rate boosts. Now, the reason you can get this is because you actually don't unlock everything about an enemy the first time you kill them. The first time you kill them, you just get their picture. Then, after a certain number of Bestiary points, you get their description. Then you get their health, their fortitude, and their stamina values. And that's all nice, like, some people like that information, but there's other people who just don't care about it, and they're like, why would I want to fill out the Bestiary? The answer is because the more filled out your Bestiary is of an enemy, the more damage you deal to that specific enemy. On top of that, the Bestiary learn rate thing increases your learn rate. So by default, you get 1 point for 1 kill, but once you increase it, you get 2 points for 1 kill, then 3, then 4, and so on and so forth, until you can fill up your Bestiary at, like, maximum Bestiary learn rate in, like, just, like, 5 or 10 kills compared to the normal, like, 50 that you would need. So, yeah, that's pretty much the plan for the Bestiary. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially to draw them all. So that's pretty much it for this progress update then. Once again, I'm sorry about sort of being really unorganized for this and kind of a motor mouth. I'm talking really fast, but let's just take a breather. That was a lot of information to digest. Point is, the tutorial has been completed, finally. And now I'm going to be moving into starting the actual fighty place itself, which I am extremely excited for. I'll take this moment to talk about a couple of miscellaneous things. Number one, the game now has a Discord, actually, so I'll put a link to it in the description since I learned last time I'm not allowed to put most links in the video itself. Thanks, YouTube. But yeah, if you don't know what a Discord is, it's basically like a cool chat room thing. I think we have over 100 members now, so if you want to come and like talk with other people who are into the game, talk with me whenever I'm around, though I've been pretty busy lately, and it's just like a nice community thing. So click that link, come on over, and come on into the talkie place. That's the voice channel. No one uses the voice channel. So that's the Discord. And in terms of my general plans for the fighty place, I haven't really talked about my plans for the levels all that much, but it's going to be essentially a modernized remake of the original. There's not going to be any stupid, like, spear climbing or janky platforming or stuff. Also, it's going to have a boss. Now, I don't think I'm just gonna not talk about the boss, because I can't remember if I'm keeping him secret or not. If I'm not keeping him secret, you can go find him yourself. On top of that, I'm also going to be putting in, like, a mini-game, sort of inspired by Mario Party mini-games, except, like, more in-depth in each level. The current thing I'm thinking for the fighty place is... Oh, I forgot to mention, actually. In these mini-games, you're going to control Sphere Friend Yellow, as opposed to Catboy. So it's, like, just a neat little thing, since there's not really a buddy mechanic in this, but this is kind of a substitute. Point is, I think that the fighty place's, like, mini-mechanic is going to be a sort of Super Monkey Ball or Marvel Blast inspired rolling around section, where you like shrink down and go into some Shamrock machinery to destroy it from the inside. That's the current idea. I'm not sure if I'm going to go through with it. I might change it to something else. Point is, thank you guys for watching the video as a whole and keeping up to date with the game. As always, if you want to subscribe, that's much appreciated. You can follow the blog by clicking the link there, or you can yeah, I mean, I think that's the only link I can put there. So, yeah, no, click that link to follow the blog, click the other link to subscribe, check out my Twitter and the Discord in the description below, and I will see you guys next time, hopefully with some nice progress on the fighty place. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Adios.